Don't be so eager to be offended.
When I see things that bother me, I try to understand the opposite side, in a sense, so I can try to figure out why they would actually do the work that they do.
I believe Picasso was right. I believe we could paint a better world if we learned how to see it from all perspectives.
Why do I hate Picasso so much? And first, you tone.
Don't be so eager to be offended.
Why do I hate Picasso so much?
People have a right to share their stories, and we have a right to hear the stories they want to share.
I'm an individual who can separate the art from the artist. I changed this in a sense to where in my painting I show a section of photos from girly magazines with trying to fuse, the breasts or the thighs into the artwork. Whew, okay.
Hi, pigs!
Your car? Oh no!
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for visiting. My name is Henry Haight, and if you're new here, I'm a multidisciplinary artist. Where on this channel we talk about everything art, theories, art practices, tips, tricks, madman ramblings, yada yada yada. And yeah, welcome. My pronouns are...
Well, let's go home.
And...
Oh, we ain't gonna be in no fire, not today.
And this one too.
That's right. Screw Gary.
Yeah. Anywho, today's video is on the topic of a retelling of a piece by a controversial artist, Pablo Picasso. Now, Pablo Picasso recently has come under scrutiny because of his personal life and proclivities by some people who just see him as a terrible, terrible person. I'm an individual who can separate the art from the artist, as well as I can look at the context of a work and appreciate for what it is. I'm not going to sit there and read Mein Kampf and say, oh yeah, this is a literary work or whatever. However, when I see things that bother me, I try to understand the opposite side, in a sense, so I can try to figure out why they would actually do the work that they do, or how they became that way. That probably explains my fascination with serial killers, but I digress. Anyways, I've recently did a reworking of his painting, Les Demoiselles In, which is currently his home base is in New York City Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art. Now, this painting in particular changed the art game and painting because of how he depicted women. And normally within the classical context with, say, Manet, Degas, and a few others, they would paint, or as they say, Titanic, paint me like one of your French ladies. This Rubenesque milky skin, and here comes this piece of work that was jagged, angular, aggressive. And the strange thing is that he painted actual sex workers from a brothel near Cara de Avignon in the Ramblas in Barcelona, where he lived. Now, Pablo Picasso had a very early introduction to the world of brothels by the invitation of his father when he was 13. So already that's showing a slight slant on his view of women. But at the same time, when I came up with this retelling or reimagining, if you will, I had just seen the film Anora. Now, I'm a huge fan of Sean Baker's work from his first work that I saw, Tangerine, years ago, also about sex workers in Los Angeles near what we call the Fruit Loop, near Santa Monica Boulevard, over by the Shakey's Pizza and the Hollywood Memorial Cemetery. That is a stomping ground for both transgender sex workers and gay men. And at night you would always see them in their, fine regalia and stuff. The weird thing is that my own history with working with sex workers in the porn industry, and when I was in art school in Savannah, Georgia, I worked for a brothel where I wasn't the sex worker myself, but I became friends with these women. And I got to know their stories of how they too got to become sex workers. Some were out of necessity due to an emergency. Let me put it this way. One girl, I won't say her name, but she was a registered nurse in Savannah, Georgia, and on her rounds, she gave a patient the wrong medication and she lost her license. She was suspended from practicing and she was put on suspension for 2 years. And because she was going through divorce, she had 2 adolescent teenage kids to support, and virtually she went into the oldest profession. The weird thing was she wasn't your typical, streetwalker and stuff like that. And throughout art, there have always been depictions of women in this manner from the male gaze. And so me being a gay man, I thought, okay, how would I reimagine this particular painting? I was introduced to a particular artist through Joel Peter Witkin, E.J. Bellocq, who actually photographed a bunch of sex workers in the French Quarter in New Orleans at the turn of the century, where he would scratch out very crudely their faces or to hide their identities. But at the same time, I always knew that with sex workers, they do have to take on this kind of armor suit to protect themselves when dealing with particular men in this business. And with Pablo Picasso using both the Iberian face, Egyptian art, as well as African art to mask these women or depict these women as characters or personas, in a sense, how I interpreted it, I changed this in a sense to where in my painting I show a section of photos from girly magazines with trying to fuse, the breasts or the thighs into the artwork. There's certain symbolisms like the, Hello Kitty face, the Rolling Stones, the artwork by Mauricio Catalan, comedian, a skull and crossbones, tattoos. All these things, in a sense, are intuitive to my upbringing and how I came to be, as well as, the upside down skewed price of, 666, which is $9.99, which when you go to a market back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you would see these hand-painted signs that were actually quite bright and tried to entice you to buy. Sort of a commodification of a meat market, in a sense. Lots of butchers had them, hanging in the windows and stuff. So this is my retelling of these things. Now, with the Hello Kitty thing, there's a form of art called Kawaii, is the emphasis of cuteness, a childlike appeal to some of the playfulness, to put that at the forefront of the art itself, as well as bright colors, which Hello Kitty has become a phenomenon. But at the same time, there is actually, with Japanese girls, there has also been a fetishization of this particular type of cuteness. The Rolling Stones' lips, I was actually, when I was painting this, Rolling Stones' little TNA came on.
She's my little rock and roll. My tits are nice, so baby. She's my little rock and roll. Oh, she's my little rock and roll.
And the song is like, she's my little rock and roll. The tits and ass and got soul baby, which at the time was a reference to his girlfriend, Keith Richards' girlfriend, Patty Hansen, who is a model. A little TNA is pretty obvious, and I think more than a Freudian slip. But I think that the work itself is always in the canon of artist and muse, and how we see these. And when I tried to put the 60s girly paintings or depictions that captures their faces, I wanted to virtually fuse those two together with the body parts so that you could see them. The only one I think that is not, the only one that isn't really touched is the top right or the top left African one with the arm ascending. The skull and crossbones one is, I believe, that any person that goes into sex work, you're going to lose a bit of yourself in that, because you have to release a portion of yourself to do that type of work. When women have found out that I've done this, some have taken like a staunch hard line
That they were dealing with a staunch character. And I tell you, if there's anything worse than a staunch woman, STAUNCH.
that, oh, I would never do this and stuff. But at the same time,
Oh, look at that, look at that, don't look at that.
It's disgusting. That is so degrading to women.
Oh, what do you mean? She's got the whip.
I think it's also demeaning to just virtually equate that, because I don't think we should stigmatize sex work at all. In this day and age, people are like, oh, with their smartphones, and it's one thing to sit there and like judge someone. However, I don't hold artists in the hero worship respect that some ones do, or they just try to like scrutinize something that happened fucking 60, 70 years ago, because there was a completely different time frame and way of thinking as opposed to today's modern context. I do take offense to anyone within their early 20s with a fucking smartphone thinking they've got all the answers just because they have, some information at their fingertips, when their lived experience isn't equated to a body work and fucking just life. It doesn't make it right, but life isn't fair, and we just get on from that. But I digress. This work to me was something challenging because I wanted to change. When I refer to masterworks, I want to make something transformative. And because I'm a huge Warhol fan, I've taken the Maurizio Catalan comedian Banana and put the Andy Warhol thing in there. And there's a hint of a comic equation to the Arrested Development, where Lucy Bluth, the mother, doesn't actually know the price of a banana.
Don't you judge me. You're the selfish one. You're the one who charged his own brother for a Bluth frozen banana. I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
You've never actually set foot in a supermarket, have you?
I don't have time for this.
With that, I think, we do need to, like, change this fear of how we look at these girls who voluntarily think. And without getting to sex trafficking and stuff, like, yeah, get in line with Andrew Dworkin and all that shit. I'm like Miss Elliot says, ain't no shame in doing your thing. Just make sure you're ahead of the game. There, I said it. This is why I painted it. I hope you like it, and let me know what you think. Okay, so thank you guys for watching, and that is my video for the day, and I really appreciate you getting this far. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification for all updates. Like I said, I will try my damnedest in the meantime to try to get 3 videos out a month, and keep watching, and most importantly, be kind to yourselves, keep creating, and just do the damn work. All right? Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
You wanna say something? I ain't slapped a bitch in 2 weeks.